Welcome back to another first impression. This time for the anime, welcome to the Outcast restaurant. Now, any list sadly at the moment is down, so synopsis from my anime list. Backstabbed by those he considered friends, Dennis has been exiled from one of the strongest guilds around, the Silver Wings Battalion. He doesn't think much of it though, as he was dying to use his level 99 cooking skills anyway. That's why he decides to leave the city behind and open a diner in the countryside. By pursuing his dreams, Dennis meets Atea, a girl exiled from her noble household and relegated to slavery until he saves her. The pair open a diner together and their first client is an exiled knight from a different guild. How peculiar. But she's not the only customer. A cocky mage and a drastically overworked yet underpaid sage become regulars as well. You can ignore the last two sentences, they don't matter. I watched the first 4 episodes, so this is essentially the same setup of our guy Dennis was part of a group, the strongest group around, and they threw him out. Now, it's a typical setup. I do like that the leader of the group, he has like first off, he has some plan after Lennis leaves. I don't know what that means, in what particular way that is going to unfold later. However, it also seems that he's maybe jealous of Dennis, and he more or less forced Dennis to make an quote-unquote error, and that is why he is throwing him out. Sadly, they also mention, oh, you're a cook and you shouldn't be in this group, yada 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 bullshit. I would have liked just the first part, that hey, you made a mistake, that is why we are going to throw you out. Dennis naturally is saying, hey, you told me to do the skill, which is the mistake, and I would have laughed because they were on a round table with other people that I believe were there as well, that they would also have corroborated and said, yes, he told you to use the skill or whatever. But they seemingly were unwilling or maybe unable to say that. Long story short, he gets thrown out. He's like, okay, I can now make my little restaurant, and that is, the setup. Now, additionally to the setup, we meet Atea. Atea is a slave, is the purple-haired girl. Dennis, by the way, is a big guy, but Atea is a little purple-haired girl. And she is a slave because there was some reason she was noble or around there, but she lost more or less her rank and she is now enslaved. Now, I did not like the depiction of the slave selling. Now, I do not have a problem with slavery in animes. It's fiction. I do not care. It's part of the story. I'm gonna, accept it. The problem is that this is like an auction. It was in the open, and this was one slave trader selling one slave. Which is very weird because normally it would be like a bazaar or a lot of, people selling, because even in the Middle Ages there were rules you had to follow if you wanted to do trade. You can't just open up a store and sell stuff. Now, not only was that a little bit peculiar, it was also that Atea, was not clean in any way. She looked dirty or injured or whatever. She had dirty clothes. From what I remember or what I know, you would normally try to make the slaves as pristine as possible, naturally in reason, to make them more appealing to buy. But we didn't have that here for some reason. These are the parts that I did not like. He naturally bought her. They had a little bit of it took a little bit time for them to get closer to each other, to warm up to each other. Fine. They then started to open this restaurant. That is the setup. Now the cooking looks pretty good. I like how the cooking looks. The dishes look awesome. They all look appetizing. They also have like side dishes every time. It's like, here you have your dish and maybe a little bit of soup or maybe a little bit of vegetable on the side. Looking very delicious. And I also like that whenever he is cooking, it seems like there's some skill activated. I don't know if he's doing that manually or it's automatically. However, there's some skill activating, and I don't know what the skill exactly does. However, I assume maybe it makes the dish more delicious, maybe it imbues some kind of passive effect that when you eat the dish, you get, I don't know, more happiness, maybe a little bit HP regen, whatever. But there's some magic happening with the food, which is also nice. Now, Atea, which is the pink purple-haired girl, she is akin to, or likened to a cat. She's very, she's not open, not bubbly, the kind of character. She's a little bit more subdued kind of character. Additionally, we get to meet the other 3 characters. The blue-haired one is a boy, the other ones are girls. Overall, I like the cooking. Animation is fine. Very first episode has pretty good animation. After that, we take a step back. The cooking animation is still really good. It feels like he's cooking, especially fried rice. We see that a couple times. The characters, I like the characters. We do have Dennis. He's like a stoic guy. He's like a good dude. Really nice to see. We have Atea. She's a little bit subdued. She's a cute mascot, more or less. She is, being a waitress and the poster girl for, this restaurant. And the other 3, at the moment, the ones I have seen the most in the 4 episodes are the blue-haired girl and the yellow-haired girl and the blue-haired boy. And they seem to be really friendly. They poke fun at each other. They all seem like good characters. I like them all a lot. Now, story-wise, this is where it's a little bit difficult for me. I was very torn where I would rate this overall. Because, so every episode we get introduced to a character, more or less. At least the first 4 episodes. We get introduced to the character, see what their life is, and somehow all their lives are shit. They are all awful lives. I don't know why. Now, Dennis is then coming in most of the time to help out. Okay, he's a good dude, understandable. He's strong, cool. Now, I don't want to spoil too much right now. Probably gonna talk a little bit about that after the rating. However, there's the situation where he is going to punish someone, and he's punishing them by beating them up and bringing them to the people that would then punish them. Now, I would have liked for him to use his abilities to punish them himself. Maybe like a little bit of a Punisher style of punishment. I would have much preferred that, because there are people that do not deserve oxygen, and especially if you premeditate your whatever you are doing, and maybe even multiple times, I would say you are lost. You do not deserve to be part of this society anymore, and potentially this world. However, it's Japan. We always have to be the good dudes for some reason. Overall, again, I was very torn, because overall the show is pretty okay. I found this show pretty decent. However, it's like Some of the parts are just a little bit not to my liking. People on my anime list gave it a 7.19. I would say it is a 7 out of 10, the first 4 episodes, but a strong 7 out of 10 for me. It is very strong, 7 out of 10. I could even see next episode, maybe something good happens, going up to an 8. This seems like a solid show. We will see how it develops, but it seems like a solid show. I like the characters. I like the food, because I like food generally. And this seems like a pretty good show to watch. Now, this is where we go into a little bit of spoiler. Now, the second episode, if I remember correctly, we get introduced to our yellow-haired character. Now, she wants to be a part of the bigger party. She then gets introduced to a party, and then she goes into the dungeon. Now, what do you find out? That this party, their modus operandi was get a single female adventurer, go down into the party, stun them, and have their way with them. Now, seemingly, they did this multiple times, which is where I would have loved to get a punishment in here. Instead of beating them up and then putting them to the guild, I would have liked for them to just stop existing. Additionally, I don't know what the guild is doing, because after they then checked, they were wanted criminals. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Additionally, the other two characters, the blue-haired guy and the brown-haired girl on the left, both of them are in the biggest guild in the city. We are not in the capital city. We are a little bit outside. And this big guild is doing bullshit. And I'm like, how is the adventurer guild allowing like this party group guild thingy to do this? One of them, this is the blue-haired guy. They just sent him or brought him to the 5th level, which is double what he should be down at. And they just left him and said, if you come back, then you can join our group. And seemingly, this is a quote-unquote ritual they do a lot, and a lot of people die. And I would be like, the adventurer guild should be like, hey, you can't do this. This is not allowed. If we see you doing this again, then we have to take action. But they ignore it for some reason. Additionally, we have the brown-haired girl who just gets abused in the sense she just gets overworked. Non-stop overworked. She wanted to take her life. This is the part I really like. We had the two other people, blue-haired boy and yellow-haired girl. They came across it and helped her, which I like. So it's not only Dennis helping, it's also the other ones, which is nice. So Dennis more or less brought some kind of happiness to the first couple people, and they paid it forward to the next person, which is nice. I hope we can see this trend continue. We will see though. And Dennis wanted her to get out of the guild. Now, then the guild master's coming in. They have a discussion, and he is presented with the contract that this girl signed, which seems like a predatory contract with very bad, just a bad contract overall. And I'm like, okay, if I were in Dennis' shoes, I would just destroy this guild. I would just take the guild master. I would just pummel him to near death, depending if killing him would be illegal. But I would just, punish him, put him near death, would destroy the whole guild, would, destroy, he had 3 guys with him. Not kill, but, put him near death as well. and just destroy the guild. Because they are not worth existing. I would have liked this kind of character. However, it's I don't know what Japan is doing. Why is it like this? It's not even that they are opposed to people being like this, because they can have bad guys being absolute shitheads. But if our guy is like, hey, you went too far, I'm gonna, get rid of you. It's like, oh, no. We have to talk it out. A slap on the wrist. Oh. And I would have been totally fine if he was like, he takes them custody, we see them get, punished and then hanged. I would be like, okay. But this way is like, why is it so weak? Come on. Be an Avenger. Would be nice, especially because he more or less has like a quote-unquote costume he takes on, who then, at least in the first 3 episodes, when he went into the dungeon, so you could have killed them, no one would know, I wouldn't tell anyone. That is why if he was similar to a failure frame, that character, that one is scrupulous. He's like, hey, she forgave you, I am not. And he's killing people because he knows if he leaves them alone, who knows if they come back, if they get in your way again. And I would like some of these characters to be similar. Not always. Punishment has to fit the crime. But if it does, I would love to see them be a little bit more heartless. Sadly, we don't have that here.